They thought it was over. They thought it was revealed. But heaven was not finished. The Third Secret of Fatima was said to have been fully disclosed in the year 2000. The world watched as the Vatican released a vision of a bishop in white, a mountain, and gunfire. And though the document was signed and sealed with the authority of Rome, something in the hearts of the faithful never settled. It was too vague, too symbolic, too incomplete. And now, as the Church stands trembling at the gates of 2025, the silence has begun to crack because something unexpected has happened. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a name once whispered as a possible pope, a man praised for humility, compassion, and evangelization, has been given a title never meant to return to him. The title of Albano, once held by the now Pope Leo XIV, has been passed to him like a torch, but with it, something far heavier than honor. A burden, a key, a spiritual signal that those who have eyes to see cannot ignore. This is not politics. This is not church restructuring. This is prophecy in motion. What the world did not know, what the Vatican never released, was that Sister Lucia's final writings did not end with a vision. They ended with a name, a time, and a decision. June 25, the month when the Church would be forced to choose between what appears holy and what truly is. They say the Third Secret was a warning of persecution, a spiritual war. But those close to the last surviving Fatima seer have spoken in hushed voices of an unfulfilled part of the message, a part that was so terrifying it was written by her hand and sealed in an envelope, not to be opened until the hour of greatest confusion. And now, confusion reigns. Because as Pope Leo XIV begins his reign with a message of unity and listening, something strange is unfolding. He appoints Cardinal Tagle to Albano, not just a ceremonial act, but a spiritual echo of his own journey. Albano is no ordinary diocese. It is one of the 7 suburbicarian sees traditionally reserved for those destined to reign, or to guard the throne during times of tribulation. And here is the twist no one expected. Tagle, the one once moved quietly to the margins of Vatican politics, is now closer to the throne than ever. He walks beside a pope the world barely knows, a man whose rise shocked even the cardinals, a man who has taken the name Leo, a name not chosen in over 100 years, and last held by the Pope, who warned of Satan's century of power. What is unfolding is not just historical, it is prophetic. Because the Third Secret spoke of a spiritual deception, a false light that would rise inside the Church, one so radiant, so holy in appearance, that even the elect would be deceived. And now the faithful look to Rome and see 2 men, one with the ring, one with the key, one ruling, one rising, and the air is heavy with expectation. Luis Tagle's new title, his proximity to Pope Leo XIV, and the strange timing of it all. It aligns not with politics, but with heaven's clock. The Vatican tells us all is well, that these are simply the movements of a new papacy, efforts to bring unity and peace. But heaven does not move through bureaucracy. It moves through symbols, through warnings, through silence, shattered at the appointed time. And now, that silence is breaking. Because in recent days, voices close to the Vatican have begun speaking, anonymously, in fear, of a document never seen, but whispered about behind closed doors. A continuation of Fatima's Third Secret, sealed, away long after the vision of the bishop in white. A letter containing Sister Lucia's final words, words of fire, words of discernment, and the name of a man whose appearance would mark the beginning of the final separation within the Church. That man is not the Pope, that man is not the beast, that man is the signal, a man who, by his mere placement, would reveal who truly serves God, and who wears the robes of light while carrying the shadow within. And now that man, Luis Antonio Tagle, has been handed the ancient seat of Albano. It is happening quietly, politely, with smiles. But prophecy doesn't wait for press conferences, it speaks in silence, signs, and sudden shifts. June 2025 draws near, and with it comes a decision that cannot be reversed. Because the warning of Fatima was not simply for the world, it was for the Church. A time would come, Sister Lucia warned, when the heart of the Church would be tested, not by swords or persecution from without, but by brilliance from within, by false peace, by a counterfeit mercy. And when that time came, a man of peace would rise, beloved by many, soft-spoken, kind, and he would unlock the very hour the secret had foreseen. And now we ask, is that hour here? Was the appointment of Tagle to Albano the final signal? And if it is, then who truly holds the voice of heaven? The Pope in white? Or the Cardinal who carries the whisper of a secret too sacred for the world? They thought the third secret was over. They thought it was revealed. But heaven was not finished. And now the faithful must choose. Will we follow the light that dazzles the eyes? Or the quiet voice that warns in the night? Because the deception will appear holy. But the remnant must rise. And now, the air in Rome feels different. Still, yet charged, like the calm before a storm no one believes will come. Yet the heavens already hear its thunder. Behind closed doors, meetings stretch into the night. Old alliances tremble. Silence falls over corridors that once echoed with certainty. Those who once dismissed Fatima's final warning as symbolic, poetic, overly apocalyptic, are now quiet, watching, uneasy, because it's not just Tagle's appointment that troubles them. It's the timing. Only weeks after Pope Leo XIV declared, "I am Roman," claiming his seat at the Archbasilica of St. John Lateran, the true cathedral of the Bishop of Rome, he hands Albano to Tagle. The very Albano that Leo himself once held, as if to say, watch this man. He is me, or he may become me. But this is no routine succession, not a matter of courtesy. This is strategy, or prophecy, because the third secret of Fatima warned not only of suffering, but of division. A division so subtle, so wrapped in spiritual language and good intentions, that even bishops would stumble. The faithful would be forced to look deeper, past the robes, past the smiles, past the popularity. And now, Tagle smiles. He speaks of unity, of listening, of compassion for the margins. And yet those very words echo the warning. Because Sister Lucia once wrote, "There will be peace spoken from mouths that do not carry peace, mercy that hides a sword, hope that cloaks surrender." It is not because Tagle is evil. It is not because he is false. It is because he may be the instrument, the vessel through which heaven will expose what no man dares confront, the war within the sanctuary. Already, signs have begun to emerge. In churches across Europe, statues weep again, this time in silence. In the Philippines, a land that reveres Tagle as a son of the people, seers have begun speaking once more. One weeps during the rosary and repeats only a phrase, "He is the sign, he is the sign." The Vatican dismisses such events as coincidence, emotional responses, devotion gone too far, but heaven does not act on schedules, and the timing is too precise, because on the very day Tagle was assigned to Albano, a child in Portugal, no older than 10, fell into ecstasy in front of a church that had not seen pilgrims in years. And when asked what she saw, her voice changed. "He walks with light," she said, "but the light is not his." When pressed to name him, the child simply whispered, "The one from the East, the one who unlocked the secret." These are not stories from the medieval past. These are the cries of the present. Heaven is no longer silent. And still, Most will not believe, because Cardinal Tagle does not rage. He does not scandalize. He does not blaspheme openly. That would be too easy. He walks gently. He speaks sweetly. And that is the danger. Because Sister Lucia warned us, the final trial will not shout, it will smile. And now, a man of smiles walks into Albano, into power, into prophecy. And as Pope Leo XIV expands his reach and offers global unity, Tagle is being positioned beside him, not beneath, but beside, a shadow papacy, a divine test, or the unfolding of Fatima's final page. In his recent homily, Leo XIV called for prayer, for unity, built on our knees. And yet the very structure of the Church now trembles. Those who once served loyally in silence now speak cautiously, guardedly. Whispers rise. Is the Antichrist political? Or is it spiritual? Will the deception come from the outside? Or from within the altar itself? And just as quickly as these whispers begin, they vanish. Voices silenced, removed, reassigned. Even bishops now fear the echo of prophecy, because when Sister Lucia wrote her final words, she did not name the Antichrist. She named a moment, a transfer, a rising. She wrote, "When the one who sits in Albano bears the gentleness of a dove and the words of gold, the veil will begin to tear. Watch then the skies. Watch Rome. Watch the children." And now, the skies above Rome have turned strange. Reports flood in of blood-hued moons lingering past dawn, of stars forming crosses then scattering. In Poland, a sacred icon streamed oil for the first time in 50 years. In Mexico, a Marian statue closed her eyes during Mass, caught on film, but vanished from Vatican reports. And yet, the faithful know. They feel it, in their hearts, in their bones. Something has begun, and it begins not with explosions, but with assignments. A new pope with the name of a lion, a cardinal with the gentleness of a lamb, and a church teetering between faith and betrayal. Heaven is speaking again, not in thunder, but in assignments, in eyes, in the stillness between breaths. This is the hour Sister Lucia foresaw. This is the time of testing. The third secret of Fatima was not fully revealed, because it could not be, until now, until the man from the East unlocked it with a smile. And now, even the silence feels orchestrated. The Vatican issues no clarifications, no press conferences explaining the symbolism behind Tagle's appointment to Albano. No theological reflections on the meaning of this moment. Just images, tightly framed photos of warm handshakes. Respectful bows and smiles between Pope Leo XIV and Cardinal Tagle, smiles that stretch wide. But say nothing, and that silence is beginning to speak louder than ever before. Because for those who remember the old Marian warnings, the words of Akita, of Garabandal, of Quito, of La Salette, a pattern is emerging again. Always the same. The Church would suffer from within. Bishops would oppose bishops. A great darkness would rise, not outside the walls of Rome, but inside her heart. And now, as if summoned by prophecy, the names begin to align. Leo, Tagle, the lion, the dove. 2 men, 1 mission, but one of them may carry the true cross, while the other carries something else. Pope Leo XIV, with his soft-spoken yet firm approach, has captivated many. His message is unity. His word is reconciliation. His agenda is restoration. But hidden beneath those goals are movements that shake the ancient order. Appointments, elevations, quiet removals. Bishop Michael Pham in San Diego. Sister Tiziana Merletti in a powerful new Vatican office. All orchestrated with subtlety, like chess pieces moving not for battle, but for revelation. And then, there is Tagle. The man once exiled to the periphery of church politics is now suddenly at the center. Handed the ancient see of Albano, a post so drenched in ecclesial blood and prophecy that even the walls of its cathedral whisper. But here's the twist no one is saying out loud. Albano is more than symbolic. It is strategic. It's where power waits when it is not yet crowned. It's where kings once hid, where guardians prepared, where decisions were made away from the throne, but just close enough to seize it. And as the world watches wars, elections, and economic tremors, most have missed what heaven sees clearly. The great test is not out there. It is here, in Rome, in the marble corridors, in the stillness of chapels where no one prays anymore. And those who still listen to the voice of the Virgin, the true remnant, feel it deep in their souls. The Third Secret of Fatima was never about a one-time vision. It was about a chain of events, a sequence, a series of spiritual detonations that would go off in the shadows, unseen by the world, until the final spark set the whole sanctuary ablaze. And that spark may have just been lit. Because just 3 days after Tagle's elevation to Albano, an internal memo leaked from the Vatican, never released publicly, but confirmed by trusted sources, that a global evangelization initiative is being planned, spearheaded by the Dicastery for Evangelization, and at the head of it, Tagle. He will travel, he will speak, he will bless, he will gather, and the world will love him. And that is exactly what was prophesied. A time would come, Sister Lucia wrote, when the world would fall in love with a man of the church, a man who carries the gospel, but in a different tone, a man who smiles, but does not suffer, a man who speaks often of mercy, but rarely of repentance, and the faithful would be torn, because he would not seem false, he would seem perfect. That is the deception. It was never going to be a horned beast standing in rebellion against God. It was going to be someone who looked like Christ, but spoke the words of compromise. Someone who would quote the Gospels, but leave out the cross. And now, that man, perhaps unknowingly, perhaps sincerely, stands in Albano, holding the key to a prophecy sealed for nearly a century. And the sky darkens. Strange winds howl across St. Peter's Square at night, scattering the candles of late-night pilgrims. Nuns speak in hushed tones in Rome's convents. Priests hesitate before they preach. And in the quiet corners of confessionals, the sins being spoken are not of the flesh, but of doubt, confusion, fear, because the faithful sense it, something is changing. The voice of the Virgin is louder now, but only to those who still kneel. She speaks in dreams, in tears, in forgotten chapels where a single candle still flickers. She is warning, not with wrath, but with urgency. And those who follow prophecy know that once the key is turned, once the third secret is unlocked by circumstance, by placement, by power, the next phase begins. It will look peaceful, it will sound holy, it will feel right, but it will not be of God. And now the Pope and the Cardinal walk side by side, the lion and the dove, echoing Christ's words, but on a path that may lead the flock to a precipice. It is no longer a matter of if. It is now a question of how far and how soon the remnant must rise, not in rebellion, but in recognition, not in protest, but in purity. For the deception will not strike like a hammer. It will descend like incense. It will move through liturgies and smiles and blessings. It will disguise itself as light, until only those with pure hearts will discern the shadow beneath the glow, and heaven is watching. But the truth, the chilling truth, is that while the world focuses on Pope Leo XIV and Cardinal Tagle as two separate men, two holy figures sharing power for the sake of unity, a deeper reality unfolds beneath the surface. A reality almost no one sees, Because what if this isn't a story of two men? What if this is a story of one spirit splitting itself into two faces for one final test? In the ancient writings of mystics long forgotten, buried texts held in monastic libraries never open to the public, there is mention of a final duel rising. A concept so mysterious the Church never canonized it, yet so persistent that it resurfaced in private revelations across centuries. The idea that, near the end, two holy figures would stand at the altar, one wearing the light of truth, the other wearing the mask of truth. That the world would trust both, that the Church would bless both, but only one would carry the fire of God, and the other would be the vessel of purification, sent not in rebellion, but as a test. And what if, just what if, we're not watching the Pope and the Cardinal, but a divine mirror, a reflection of what the Church has become, a lion and a dove, strength and gentleness, power and mercy. But behind the symbols, a single decision waiting to be made. The ancient enemies of the Church, the spirits of confusion and false peace, no longer wear horns. They wear vestments. They smile on balconies. They nod in meetings. They speak of compassion while rewriting what it means to repent. And now, all eyes are on June 2025. Not because of politics, not because of papal anniversaries, but because somewhere, hidden in the vaults of the Holy See, lies a sealed envelope, yellowed with time, bearing Sister Lucia's final seal, a letter that was never shown. A letter marked with 3 words in her frail Portuguese hand: Depois do Albano, after Albano. A letter that was to be opened not after the vision, but after Albano was passed to the one foretold. And now, it has been passed, and the envelope? Whispers say it was retrieved from the archives only 2 nights ago. Not by a cardinal, not by a secretary, but by a woman, a nun, a name no one knows. Except one. Sister Tiziana Merletti, the newly appointed leader within Pope Leo's Curia, the same woman whose appointment was overshadowed by the headlines about Tagle, the same woman who was once, quietly long ago, present at a shrine, in Fatima as a novice, where she reportedly collapsed after kneeling before the statue of Our Lady, and woke up speaking words she could not remember. And now she holds the envelope. Not Tagle, not Leo, not the College of Cardinals. A woman hidden, in plain sight, walking the marble halls of power, holding the last unspoken words of the Virgin Mary. And here is where the story twists. Because the third secret may have never been about the Pope, or the Cardinal, or even the structure of the Church. What if it was always about her? What if Sister Lucia's last warning, the line no one could understand, was not about a bishop in white or a fallen city, but this: when the lion reigns and the dove is exalted, a woman will open what only the pure may see, and the final flame will begin. What if the rise of Pope Leo and Cardinal Tagle was never the climax, but the distraction? What if everything, the attention, the praise, the debates, has been a carefully timed preparation for someone no one has watched? The one heaven always hides until the moment of fire. Because in every story of salvation, the world looks to the kings and the prophets. But God chooses a girl from Nazareth. And maybe now, God has chosen again, but this time the woman doesn't carry the Messiah. This time, she may carry the secret that separates the bride of Christ from the beast in disguise. The lion roars, the dove soars, but it is the hidden one who lights the flame, and that was the twist no one saw coming.